On this episode of DC On Screen, we are going to be talking all about Elseworlds.
We really did enjoy this episode. These episodes. This crossover.
You think of Earth as a singular planet. In fact, it is anything but. For this is a story not of a universe, but a multiverse, where universes and planets, such as Earth, were replicated and mirrored across a vibrating, infinite plane. Some barely different from the next. Others drastically so.
This is DC On Screen. Every week, Dave and Jason talk about the multiverse of DC properties on film and television. But be warned, if it's been officially released, you can expect they'll spoil it.
Welcome into DC On Screen, the podcast that's feeling fine in your gine.
Mm-hmm.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Why would you agree with that?
Uncouth. I wasn't paying attention till after.
This is episode 521. We're going to be talking about Elseworlds here. I'm David C. Robertson. This is Jason Goss.
Hello.
You're so chipper.
Why?
All right, man. We've seen Elseworlds. We've been putting it off, talking about it. Not on purpose, just life gets in the way.
Just couldn't fit it in.
High-level thoughts, man.
I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah?
That's a rough version. Got to see some old faces, some old places. Got to see some new Batwoman. Liked her.
Yeah? Good.
Digging that.
Good.
And overall, I liked where the story went. It was kind of a hiccup in the third episode that I wasn't too fond of. But
ooh, a hiccup in the third episode that you weren't too fond of.
I think we can call that the third act in this one, right?
Was that in the Supergirl episode?
Yes, I guess it was.
Okay.
I had to remember which one was which. But yes, I believe it was in that
Okay.
one. Wasn't the end of the world. I just didn't like... Are we doing spoiler? We're just going spoilers.
Yeah, we're
right?
just going full spoilers.
Okay. Only thing I really didn't care for at all was... it was like halfway through the episode and you thought they'd wrapped it all up, and I just get a little bored sometimes when you know the climax isn't happening yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've got like 25 minutes worth of TV left. Come on.
You know...
I know Deegan's not down.
Right.
I said... I didn't say problem. I said hiccup. I mean, literally hiccup.
Yeah.
Like, they still did it. They still did a decent job with it. Still enjoyed watching. And what they did later was actually pretty great, because, you know, the way Oliver solves this problem in the end is, I feel like, going to be very relevant.
Now, what do you think is going to happen with that? Do you think that he's going to die?
Knowing Oliver and the tone of that conversation, I for sure think that is... Yeah, that's where they're heading.
Here's the question, though. Is this the final season of Arrow? Will they just bring him back for a guest appearance next year and then kill him? Or will Arrow get renewed for another season?
I think Arrow... Well, I'll look up some numbers while we're doing that. But I think either way, they've got it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think the show's... I don't think the show's in terrible shape. I saw somebody post earlier that, like, Arrow had gotten worse ratings than Legends in it was like the last 2 years, and I thought I'm almost certain that is not true.
I don't know that I saw that. I did see a headline that it got the worst ratings it's ever gotten this year.
Yeah, but there's still, and let me pull up the Legends ratings while I'm having this conversation with you. I do love TV series finale for this. They're a really handy site. All right. Standardly, no. Yeah, that headline's wrong, or whoever posted that was wrong. Viewers in the millions, viewers by the millions is like 0.996, 0.933. I'll give them this. They made a joke about it in the first episode of this season of Legends. Nate says something about, like, we have a small but loyal following. It's true. There's really not a lot of variation in their episodes.
Right.
Now, between seasons, yes, like everybody has that, and theirs is pretty drastic. They're down to like less than 1 million viewers per episode.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, at its worst, at no point during the season did Arrow have lower on any given week. Actually, not one single week. But they are still hovering around the 1.25, 1.3 range. Now, the crossover brought them up to 2.06,
mm-hmm.
which fascinates me because that means there's still Was it 1.25? Still about, 700,000 people out there that just watch one show and only watch all of them when it's the crossovers?
Well,
Still baffles
I've heard a
me.
lot of people attributing that to Batwoman.
Oh, just the introduction of Batwoman in general? Okay. Well, I can get behind that. That makes sense. But there is always a peak for the crossover that's not represented in any of the other part of the... no show just stands, steady for the crossover.
Right. I think a lot of that is, you follow... Some people follow one of the shows, and they're going to watch all of the crossover, but they don't necessarily want to watch Arrow every week, or they don't want to necessarily watch Supergirl every week. And I can't completely blame them.
I mean, let's say, to compare it, the 6th season of Arrow averaged 0.43 rating with 1.267 million viewers. This season of Arrow is averaging, it's 0.44 with 1.3 million viewers. They actually went up a little bit, total season average. I don't think we're losing Arrow. I really don't. I like that Stephen Amell wanted to, quote, write it like it was your last season, but I don't think we're losing it. And either way, it didn't matter. I think he would come back, and a lot of the main players would come back for something as big as, Infinite Crisis. Or Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I definitely think he would come back for Crisis on Infinite Earths, but I also think that he is pretty close to being done. So...
I think he's getting to a point in his life where he does want to call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually is part of why I think that he decided to sacrifice himself with the monitor.
Yeah, they're building up a new Green Arrow on Arrow right now. Spoilers. So I have an idea of who that person is because of some spoilers that leaked, and also just because, that stuff is out there in the fandom and theories and stuff. So... and in the comics, if you look closely enough.
I would assume... and I've avoided all that, but I assume that probably by end of January? Because I think they're... the date they're coming back... everybody's coming back about mid-June, I think.
Uh-huh.
I think it'll be in the first few episodes we find out who that is. I think they start unraveling that mystery pretty soon.
Well, I'm pretty sure
Just
it was hinted at very, very heavily in the last episode of Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you know the comics at all, you know who that character is.
I'm still kind of avoiding that because I don't want to know. And I don't know the Arrow comics that well to catch that one.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're not going to know the name. Like, if I told you the name, you'd be like, okay, you know exactly as much as you do now, except you know a name. And it's not going to mean anything to you if you don't know the Arrow comics at all.
Yeah. I don't well enough on those. I really don't. But, getting back to the actual crossover, I guess. I don't think it matters on that. I think we got them either way. I think, and I got to admit, I didn't see that coming at all, the Crisis on Infinite Earths. I thought this might be as far as they go with the Crisis. I worried that this might be as far as they go with the Crisis. Let's put it that way. And then they flashed that headline on me, and then I immediately thought back to, the Monitor saying we have a crisis at the end of episode 2 and all these other things where I thought, oh man, should have seen that coming, but hell yes.
Well, see, okay, I do want to say I enjoyed this crossover. It was fun, but it wasn't at all Elseworlds. And when they tell me, hey, this is going to be Elseworlds, and then they say, except it's really just going to be Earth 1 that's switched up by Dr. Destiny a few times, it makes me feel like Crisis on Infinite Earths is really just going to be like a kerfuffle in two towns. And they're going to call it Crisis on Infinite Earths because that's what CW does. That's what they love, taking shit and calling it a thing from the comics and getting you all worked up and then being like, except it's not at all in any way that.
Right. This may either worry you more or comfort you. I'm not sure. Did you see this headline out there? Or did you read about it? I forget which producers. They thought about naming this crossover Identity Crisis.
And see, they would have been just as wrong for calling it Identity Crisis.
That's the thing. That's why I'm saying maybe this is comforting. Because this is a version of an Elseworld. Mm-hmm. But you're right. It's not a true Elseworld. But to me, personally, aside from the naming situation, I was actually pretty happy with that. Because I didn't want a true Elseworld. I wanted something that was actually connected to this universe.
There's no reason that it couldn't have been connected to Earth 1 and Earth 38. They literally have access to all of these different realities. So, I mean, we knew they were bringing in John Wesley Shipp. And that's the thing. Like, everything that they brought in, everything that was in the press about the thing beforehand, yeah, we knew that Barry and Oliver were going to be switched. But they also brought in John Wesley Shipp Flash. We knew that he was coming from Earth 90.
From Earth 90.
Yeah, they're talking.
Still made me
They're
laugh.
like pimping out this idea that there's going to be some kind of little Smallville nod. They're showing us this Superman, Tyler Hoechlin, in a black and silver Superman suit. If you know the comics at all, you know that suit means either 1, he's just been killed by Doomsday, or 2,
Right.
as it is with the short hair and the cape, it's probably Superman Prime. That would fit in with an Elseworlds type of situation. But no, none of those
definitely.
things. None of those things. We don't have, they've been teasing that we'll see more Accelerated Man from Gypsy's universe. Nope, nothing. Like they could have shown us, Arrow by Gaslight. They could have shown us so many different little things, like a thrill killer
agree.
Arrow.
I agree.
We could have seen Black
they
Lightning.
could do a true Elseworld, but yeah, I mean, we could pull in Gotham for all it mattered. The Fox's Gotham, but
Right.
that was doable. But
And
I'm torn. I get what you're saying. That would have delighted me to see a true Elseworld. Like, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this? But it's also biting off a lot of expectations that you'd have to pay back at some point. Because that's how we are as viewers. If you actually showed me Tom Welling in some version again, at this point, I would be like, oh, come on, you're the CW. You do this all the time. You bring in a thing, you bring in a seed, and then you let me have that thing.
No,
And I think they wanted to limit themselves to Batwoman on this one.
that's
Like, it was an Elseworld.
I get it, but that's my problem because I feel like they're doing the same thing. Like I enjoyed the crossover, but I enjoyed it way less.
You just would have appreciated another name.
Yeah, because I enjoyed it way less. Thinking because leading up to it, you guys heard me. I was like, oh, is this Superman Prime? What the hell is this?
Yeah, you're
No.
getting excited about the possibilities.
No, it's not. They give us a name, and there is precedent. I should have known, and I'll never believe them again. Like Crisis on Infinite Earths,
Not based on a
bullshit.
title.
Crisis on Infinite Earths is not going to be Crisis on Infinite Earths.
It will not be like a true Crisis on Infinite. No, absolutely not.
It is going to be. It might be really fun, but compared to
Although
what
they're
that name
introducing a
is,
Luthor, like a Lex, so at least parts of it will be able to stick around. But it's not going to be.
maybe. All right.
I don't think it's going to be fully.
So
But they are going to have a lot of the working parts to do it. And just like I said, I'll try this point instead. They introduced, it's the title Elseworld. They did a lot of fun things. They did change things up a lot, even based on episode. It was 3 hours of like Flash said in the last hours. Like I said, any crazier than anything you've heard in the last 3 hours?
Mm-hmm.
Hilarious line. Fantastic. Good job. I mean, one, he's right. And two, if I was reading this as a graphic novel, having seen all the other series that led up to it and seen this as an Elseworld tell, it would still feel like that. Like, this still does have the feel, especially if you were one of the viewers that shows up for this kind of thing and we never see you again. It does feel like something that's out of nowhere. Some other writers take on it, something that took on its own little,
yeah.
another nail, or the nail or another nail kind of thing, and we never see it again.
Mm-hmm.
In ways, I think it did live up to the name. In other ways, I do get what you're saying, where you felt a little betrayed.
Now,
But, question, just for curiosity's sake, would you have been any less or more excited about or annoyed if it had been named Identity Crisis?
I think I would be equally annoyed.
I would be more, because it's really nothing like that story.
Well, it's nothing like anything Elseworlds. Like it's just using the name to get people excited for nothing. It's clickbait. It is it's network clickbait.
Yeah. Well, that's the title of episodes. That's what you get with them a lot of the
I
time.
understand that when you adapt a story, you have to truncate things. And I understand it's just like Flashpoint, and I shouldn't have expected. But, they're showing me Superman Prime. I didn't know it was going to be freaking Dr. Destiny or John Deegan.
Yeah, that was hard to see coming.
In fact,
That was one of those things where, like, when that happened in the episode, I went, oh yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
That makes more sense. That sounds more like something they
So
would
look,
do.
I don't want to harp all night on what it could have been based on the title.
And then
I'd rather harp
if
on
I
what we
understand
got.
correctly, you're burying your future concerns and or aggravations about the title based on the fact that you will have no expectations.
Mm-hmm. So I honestly felt like there was, with what we got, with what they gave us, there were some issues with me. There were things like...
What was that?
The whole bit where they're like conking Ollie on the head and being like, he's not the real, or he's not talking right, blah, blah, blah. I feel like we could have just gotten to like actual story. We could have gotten more Batwoman. We could have gotten more of other things that we were more interested in. They could have fleshed out Deegan a little bit. I don't know what the hell his motivation was other than he just wanted to be a great man. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know why.
Well, I mean, he was trying to play God in the basements of Arkham Asylum, and then someone said, here's a real go.
Yeah, and
it's a pretty rote character identity, but it technically works. I mean,
yeah, screw Batwoman. I wanted more time with John Wesley Shipp. That's what I wanted. We got like nothing.
I know. You got some Earth of his where apparently everyone we loved in that series died. And let's face it, we had a lot of problems with that series because it can be a chore to get through a couple episodes there.
Yeah.
You know what I'd like to assume, though, is somewhere in all that chaos of you killed my world, somewhere the trickster is hiding in a basement laughing.
Oh, yeah. I like to believe that the trickster's around somewhere, as is Tina McGee and Julio Mendez.
Yeah. Like, part of rewriting the world was like, no, we'll take these people and put them on another world. And then he handed the book over after he rewrote parts of it.
But I would really love to know, because it appeared on Earth 90 that Monitor alone had the book. Now, he might have had another version of Dr. Destiny. I don't know why it had to be John Deegan necessarily who had the book. We don't get those answers. He doesn't go to, to my knowledge, I don't remember him saying, hey, John Deegan, here's a good reason why you're the one that's going to have this book.
No, they don't give you an answer either way, but they kind of make the problem not matter, if that makes sense. Because they don't tell you, hey, here's why it's you this time right now, but it's this time right now. Mm-hmm. Like, apparently the Monitors tried this several times, to the great dismay of many numbers of Earths. And, like, for all we know, he gave it to Oliver one time, and it just went tits up.
Yeah.
I don't think they outlawed the idea that he has tried a lot of things, including, I assume, giving the book to heroes at times and hoping for the best and thinking, oh, that didn't work.
Yeah.
And then coming back to like, well, all right, they didn't rule it out. I'm headcaning a little bit, but he kind of said he tested several things, so I assume he tested giving the book to a hero.
Right.
That one just seems like an easy, logical leap to me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, he's got to give it to a villain.
And he starts giving it to villains.
He's got to give it to a villain to test the heroes of that world, but I don't understand why he can't use the book himself. It looked like he was using the book before John Wesley Shipp ran away.
I do feel like I have an explanation for why he wouldn't just use the book himself. I mean, I think he can use the book himself. To me, they didn't rule that out. Mm-hmm. I feel like he can. It's not necessarily him just literally monitoring. Mm-hmm. But the reason he wouldn't, in my mind, would be whatever's coming is something that he felt like recruiting help for. So he'd want to make sure that he had the strongest people around him, which means if I rewrite that book, I'm kind of writing my version of what I want to see into existence. Mm-hmm. That doesn't help anything. It's a bad experiment. He's doing a blind experiment. That's the right way science goes.
So I do feel like we lost a bit of time, or wasted a bit of time with the whole, like, let's conk Ollie or Barry on the head, whichever one you want to call him, and not believe him.
Sure. It was a Flash episode. They're goofy up front.
Well, I kind of feel like, all that they've been through, he should have just been like, hey, I'm Oliver. I don't know why. You guys should listen to me. And they would be like, oh, okay. Yeah, we've dealt with a lot of weird shit. Sure. And then on our adventure, let's go on.
They got there, like, within the first third of the episode. But they did also play it as though it was like in, they kind of discovered their abilities. Like, Barry, as Oliver, wakes up and can suddenly kick Diggle's ass. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't really make sense to him. It's just part of his DNA. Like, both of them seem to be discovering who they are as it goes by.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't seem clear to me within that it's probably about the first, 15 minutes of airtime you're talking about? Mm-hmm. That it doesn't seem clear to me that they're completely that sure of it. It takes them a second to kind of come around to it.
Yeah. I did enjoy a whole lot about this thing. I enjoyed Barry dislocating his thumb and it just flopping around.
Yeah. That was hilarious.
Great.
It's a good visual gag.
Loved actually seeing that there's a toilet for real in those cells. I've been wondering about that for years. We've joked about that
a few times, I think. Yeah. We've even theorized about that. I'm not sure if we did it on the show or privately, but we've theorized about what are they doing in there?
Yeah.
How does it work? They bring them food.
And I've also theorized. Or sorry, I've also. What am I talking about? God, I enjoyed when Barry got revenge on Oliver by shooting him in the back with those arrows. That was fantastic.
Yeah, still funny.
Fantastic.
Call back later at the bar where now themselves Barry's like tried to, like wants to come in for the hug, and I was like, no, you made me hug you like 3 times. We're not doing that this time. We're not. No.
Man, I loved how much they were like at each other's throats, and
they're great together. That's one of the crossovers. I mean, excuse our gripes, but the crossovers are really fun to watch because the chemistry along all of the CW's lines are fantastic. Like if all of the CW shows, well, I mean, I don't know about Black Lightning yet. We've never tried him. We don't know his chemistry. But the shows that are in this universe, if they were all together at any given time, if one episode it was Supergirl pops on Legends, and another one it was like the Flash shows up over in Star City for just a second, like it would be thrilling. Honestly, it would be probably higher ratings. Frankly, it's just hard to do. But they all have great chemistry. It doesn't matter who pops up where. Like Gary in the damn bar was still funny.
Yeah,
they said there was going to be no Legends time, but there was Gary.
They did say there was a little Legends nod.
Yeah, they did say there was going to be a nod.
Yeah, I loved Oliver yelling at Barry about how he needs a pep talk, sappy pep talk every 5 minutes.
That was solid.
Felicity basically invented quarterbacking. That was great.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, one of my favorites. The real Superman, I'll call him. The actual Tyler Hoechlin boy in blue.
Yeah.
To Diggle, where's your ring?
Oh, no, that was John Wesley Shipp said that.
Oh, crap, that was. God, it's been a week. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, that was. But still, where's your ring? Is a damn good nod.
Oh, yeah. I think Beth Schwartz said that Diggle as Green Lantern is to be continued.
See, if we have nothing else to look forward to next year, I feel like that's where that shows up.
Possibly.
But if Beth wants to start tying that in now, I'm not going to argue with her.
Yeah.
It's in your hands, sister. Make it happen.
All right, so I gotta ask, how you feeling about Batwoman, man? You seriously? Do you think they should do a show? They're going to do a show, but do you think they should?
I'm still not convinced they are going to.
I mean, they're doing a pilot.
They're doing a pilot. I think I saw somewhere the pilot was finished.
Might be.
And it probably should be by now.
Do you want a Batwoman show?
Based on what I saw, probably. But I want to see the pilot first.
Based on what I saw, I don't want a Batwoman show.
Now, bear in mind, I'm basing that on the idea that we don't have any other shows that we watch every freaking week, and that it hasn't gotten like almost Sisyphean to keep up with the programming schedule that we've bitten off. I'm trying to push that out of my mind and think, did I enjoy this character? Did I enjoy the tie-ins they started? Could I use an interpretation of this of Batwoman that gets kind of a little more play than it normally does? Did I think she did a good job with the character? All those are checks. All those check yes. So yeah, I could do it.
I didn't mind her.
To me, the real question is, do I want another CW show right now? And maybe no.
Yeah.
Maybe tie something up and then let me like.
I don't.
The week is only so long.
I definitely don't want it as a 22, 23 episode season. I if I had to have it, if they had to put it out, which if they put it out, I'll watch it. But I'm hoping for an 8 episode or 10 episode season at most. I don't want to.
They've been toying with this idea, and I wouldn't put it past them. CW's been moving into the summer a little bit, and if they decided they wanted to have a summer show and it was going to be Batwoman, I could fit that into my schedule. And again, she checks all the marks.
She doesn't for me though.
There's enough there for me that I liked. I
felt like she was fine as Kate Kane, but as Batwoman, she was stilted and weird, and I just didn't care for it.
I didn't get that, but I also didn't feel like we had a lot of time with it.
Yeah.
That's why I say I started that with I do want to see the pilot, because I'm not sure if it's going to. I mean, I really did like her Kate Kane, but I do want to know more about what she's doing as Batwoman, like what Gotham's up to at the time. I really wanted to just know more about the context of what they were going to make that show about. Like who's the big bad? You know, like where are we going with it as a story? Because you already said Bruce is out of the picture for now, and the city's worse than it's ever been, and that's fine. I mean, that's a perfect place to start. You have to take Batman out of the picture for a lot of reasons right now.
Well, I have no interest in seeing a whole series where we get like allusions to criminals that we actually want to see on screen, and then and then getting stuff like Nora Freeze. Nora Freeze had nothing to do in this crossover. There was no point in her being there, other than
it was name check. I mean, it was a bit of a waste.
And did they even name check her, or was she just Stephen Amell's wife running around looking for Victor's gun?
That's actually probably
she
true.
Had no. And then
point.
There was no
even
reason.
while she's looking for his gun. I forget how many. I forget how many different little Easter eggs there are in there, but there's plenty. There's a Bane one in there.
Yeah, there's a Bane mask from Dark Knight Rises, no less.
Of course. I'm sure that soured you by itself.
Oh, that's what they had a prop of to throw in there.
Yeah. There's plenty to do with it. I would like a briefer about where they're going with it, just to make sure it didn't sound like it was going to be, okay, why are we doing this?
Yeah. Oh, man, when they were showing all the rooms with the names, Cobblepot, they had freaking Carlo, they had all the villains, and then they ended it with Mark Guggenheim. I went, you got that straight, sister. Girl, you got that straight.
He has betrayed us. He has betrayed us.
Time and again.
He's the great liar. I mean, he did a lot of good, I know, but he did just constantly lie to us in a way that, like, when on the level that we look at this stuff, where like every day we're looking at news and reading interviews with him, like almost every week you'd be like, oh, that son of a bitch.
Yeah. Now, that's not to say, though, like, me saying I don't want a Batwoman show, that doesn't mean that, like, I don't want to never see her again. A lot of people, like, I wouldn't mind a miniseries. I wouldn't mind if she just showed up for crossovers from time to time. Like, sure, let her pop over to Supergirl. But that way Ruby Rose can keep her movie career that everyone's so confused about why she would leave movies and come to the CW. Well, it's because she's, bit parts in John Wick. That's why. But whatever.
Or the Meg.
Let her, let her go and do those things. And then, from time to time, come over and put on the tights and run around with Supergirl or somebody and go away. And I don't have to spend so much time watching another show that's not a Batman show that's trying to be a Batman show. Gotham. Even though I enjoy Gotham. I enjoy Gotham for what it is, but I just don't want to keep doing this. Like,
I get it. Also, I'm tired of the conversation. I have been for a long time because I enjoy TV more than I do movies. Mm-hmm. It's a fact for me. Just a fact. And I honestly, when you do it correctly, I think the storytelling is harder to do and more rewarding when you do it correctly. I get really tired of like, well, why is she going to bounce over and do movies? The sentence itself demeans movies. Mm-hmm. I really, or demeans TV. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like that.
Well,
that conversation is something I'm deeply bored with.
That's why I'm not saying TV. And plus TV is so cinematic these days. It doesn't really make too much of a difference.
Doesn't. Say there TV. Is still an old CW. School. I know. There is still an old school contingent that says, well, that's TV. Do you want to do movies or do you want to do TV? And I get bored with that.
Yeah.
And I hope that's not part of her decision making, and apparently it's not.
I mean, apparently she's an actual fan of the character and everything,
yeah.
God help her. I'm sorry that this wasn't on streaming because DC Universe is killing it.
Yeah, they are destroying it. We've got a Titans review coming up soon. That's going to be a lot of fun, probably. But man, I would be happy with it. I would appreciate it if they would schedule it somewhere like not on top of their other scheduling right now.
Yep.
Or at least take something else out of the picture. Kind of in the way that we were super excited when Lucifer got canceled and then went, no, damn you, Netflix.
All right, now in the same vein, though, after seeing Lois and Clark together, knowing of their super baby and the things, would you want a Superman series?
No, not based on what I've seen.
Yeah, me either. I
don't even mean, there's nothing against those characters. It's just, for me personally, I'm trying to keep the the stuff I see on like the DC on screen world. I'm trying to keep that separate from I don't know, what I see separate from that question, I guess. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think the CW could do that show well? Yeah, probably. Do I like Tyler Hoechlin? However you say his name. I'm good. Probably. I forget the name of the girl who did Lois. Liked her. No problem with that.
You liked her?
Yeah.
I didn't like her at all.
I liked her on, it was Grimm. I think it was Grimm.
Yeah, it's Grimm. I didn't care for her at all.
I've never had a problem.
I thought she was
Grimm was one of those shows
bad.
that you had to... No, Grimm was one of those shows that you had to like grit your teeth to get through. And it may be because I've gotten through that, but like she was a bright spot on several episodes of that.
Mm-hmm. And
I did eventually give up on Grimm. I tried. I really
There has
did.
been a lot of conjecture that, because of her extensive history on Grimm, because of their casting of John Cryer as Lex Luthor, they're definitely they're dipping a toe in the water for a Superman series. And we're foolish to think otherwise, I think.
I mean, it was a rumor 2 years ago when he was showing up that this is going to be a backdoor pilot, and I really don't think that's where they're going with it yet. I don't think they're prepared to do that yet.
I hope not.
And the one thing I would really like about it is like the thing I don't like about a Batwoman series right now. One of the cons, and even one of the cons of Titans, which is spoiler alert for our review, maybe my favorite thing I've watched in a very fucking long time. It's still like Batman without Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Like they create this giant, and I get it. It's because it's in the Batman mythos world. Like you have to represent that or address it in some way. That can't just sit in a corner quietly.
Yeah.
Like if you started a show about Barbara Gordon in high school, the entire thing would be like, okay, so when does James introduce her to Bruce? It wouldn't matter. It is the elephant in the room. I get that you have to address it, but I'm also getting a little worn out on like addressing it without, like, I'm not sure what Titans is going to be up to. They're doing something with Batman, like where they're kind of addressing it, and not at the same time. I'm not trying to spoil that show for anybody, but they're doing something.
The thing,
and then I wouldn't want Batwoman to be just another show where they're not addressing it, but like kind of pushing it out of the picture for a second, and still playing with the universe. And yet, at the same time, like and this is why it's not those shows' fault. It's not that I don't blame them. I blame WB because again, we have like another universe where, like, for me and you, we understand that the headlines are mostly crap.
Mm-hmm.
But like for me and you, the contract is still there. It's still Batfleck,
right?
Batfleck, not an insurance company.
Well,
still Batfleck.
All right.
But it like he's there but not there in the actual movies, which is still just frustrating on a fundamental level. And then I get to go to the shows and he's not allowed to be there because, well, we might use him in the movies. I feel torn apart to some extent.
It's frustrating to keep seeing shows that are doing Batman without Batman. Sure. I was frustrated at that notion with Titans, except Titans did the very rare thing where they're just so damn good and compelling, I don't care.
Right.
Batwoman is not going to do that.
On top of that, well, I don't know.
Batwoman is going to be, Birds of Prey from the early 2000s Part 2. Like, that's what it's going to be. It's the same. It's the same damn premise. Batman went away. We don't know where he went. But here's, Lady Bat running around Gotham with criminals that aren't...
premise.
It's the same premise.
It's the same premise, but with producers that have made some serious shit work, like that have a provable record of making something work.
Yes, that much is true. Okay, but so did Birds of Prey. Smallville was same producers.
They made one thing kind of work for way too long.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that Smallville Remy Zero thing was embarrassing. It was so bad. Like
I really did.
I felt shame.
I laughed my ass off when I saw that.
I felt shame. And I haven't felt shame about comic book properties in a long time, but I just grimaced.
I wasn't shamed by it at all. It was too much. Like, I see why Stephen Amell was worried that it might be lost in editing. I get it. I really do get it, because it should have probably been lost in editing.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, it was one of those things where they did it was a very similar shot to that crane in thing they used to do with the Smallville property.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that and I heard the music and a part of me thought, oh, that's what he was talking about? And I just laughed my ass off for the next 60 seconds. I really did. Like, I put my drink down and belly laughed about that.
You know what I would have loved? I would have loved a line from Lois talking about how she's got to go help her cousin get out of prison. That's what I would have loved.
There could have been a lot there to deal with. Yeah, yeah, that would have been fantastic. There were a lot of things they could have done.
Lois could have made a crack about how Chloe's in a sex cult. That would have been great. Apparently, Chloe's been branding people. I don't know. I've got
that were not going to happen.
It should have, though.
The only way I could think of that you could do that is for Lois to somehow mention that she has to get back to things. Well, I have to get back to things. Our CEO of software, CEO of IT, there's different ways to phrase that. But our computer guru is in some trouble right now. I got to go back and cover for her for a little while.
Yeah.
You'd have to deeply remove that from its source material to get that on there, I think.
Yeah. I feel like if
it made me laugh, I'm not sure. I don't think I had the reaction they were hoping for, where it was like, "Oh man, look at that!"
Yeah,
I think I saw it and went, "Oh, really? Oh, okay."
And I think,
but I did enjoy it, maybe for the wrong reasons.
The dead Smallville Green Arrow in Earth 90 was probably a better call, and I didn't mind the red truck and the actual Smallville set. For Kent Farm. Yeah, that was fine. That was enough.
That was subtle. Nice.
Yeah, I didn't need the music. That was just made me cringe a little. That's it. Bring Tom Welling in if you can. Bring Rosenbaum in if you can.
I still, though, every time I hear that music, I'm like, I know that guy. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I get excited by that.
All right, so we're party poopers. We don't want a Batwoman show necessarily. We don't want a Superman show necessarily.
Well, don't we?
We both pretty much said we don't.
I do, but I just would appreciate it being in a different spot right now. Like, bring me that summer show you've been teasing. Hell, I'll take a 6-part series over Christmas.
I'm honestly good just them kind of popping in once or twice a season and just being done with it. I don't need a whole show.
Actually, that would be nice in a lot of ways. Bring them in a few times. And this has happened. Remember, we had the first big crossover, and then Barry still ended up doing a musical over in Supergirl? Mm-hmm. Vice versa, I think? Yeah. Well, I'll say vice versa. I think it started on Supergirl for 2 seconds, and then it was a Flash thing. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of that could work. Mm-hmm. Just bring them in a few times. Let me get a little more of a taste, a little more of a flavor.
Or better yet, give us a Batwoman show. Cancel Supergirl and have her show up every once in a while.
I don't think I'm there yet. They've got more to resolve on that show.
Do they? Because they won't do it.
I wonder. That's the big question about the CW shows for me. Is they're low maintenance, man. 1.5 million viewers, you're doing fine. You're doing great. We're not worried about you. I
mean, you know how shows these days have good serialized bingeable shows these days have an end point, they're like your Breaking Bads, you're Lost, God help us, even Fringe to some small degree.
I'm not convinced of that. I'm not actually convinced of that, because still a bingeable show is, did you enjoy clicking next episode? And if they don't get there, they didn't get there.
Well, yeah, I think
the last 3 Whedon TV shows didn't get there.
I mean, I'm just saying, I think that, I don't know what the point of these shows are sometimes. I don't know what they're heading towards. And not in a good way. Does that make any sense?
I agree.
I'm not trying to be overly negative here. I'm just it feels like we've had several different premises for Supergirl alone.
Yeah, but you're supposed to have that from season to season, a new premise, a new idea. But you're looking for the overarching where is this all going?
Yeah.
And I do agree on it's pretty shady on all of them. It really is. I don't know for any Flash was pretty close because it had the newspaper.
And that was the newspaper. Yeah, the newspaper is the big thing on Flash. We're heading towards that.
We're heading towards that, and now we don't know if we're heading towards that. And it could be this year, it could be later. But all right, let me rattle off a couple of the ratings for just this season.
Mm-hmm.
All right, DC Legends of Tomorrow, 0.950 average for the season.
Uh-huh.
Going up one step, Arrow, 1.314 million. We're doing the millions things, not the demo, thank God. This season. We go up another step for Supergirl at 1.36. We go up another step for Flash at 1.79. Like, of the 4 shows that are crossover relevant right now, Flash is still hugely in the lead. Mm-hmm. And, the craziest part is, like, Supergirl, of all the ones that... of all those shows, and God, maybe it was because they closed with Red Sun Supergirl ending, I don't know, but she had the least, like, the smallest loss between seasons. Mm-hmm. And again, loss between seasons it's almost unavoidable. There are so few shows that escape that.
Yeah, people just forget that things come on.
They literally, your life moves on. Babies get born. Shit happens. You just stop watching it. Hell, I stopped watching Breaking Bad for reasons that I'll never understand.
I definitely don't understand them.
I know, I get it. But even then, it was like Flash and Arrow were 25% down. Legends correctly called itself as having a small but loyal following, and they were 43% down. Mm-hmm. Like, these shows are so low maintenance that I don't know how to predict when the end is nigh. Yeah,
and I don't think they know.
I honestly think it. Well, I think it may have. Like, Stephen Amell might be a good example. I think it may have as much to do with the actors being on board as anything. Like, maybe that's why some of these people enjoy working for this network. It's a decent paycheck. You're only gone for a couple months a year. Vancouver's not really that damn bad when it comes down to it. And they do generally send you there in spring and summer. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're talking lows of 55, maybe. I don't know. I'm just guessing based on some time in Detroit. But, like, it's not terribly unpleasant.
I think they...
Except eventually you start worrying about missing a quarter of a year with your family every year. And then you're like, well, I think I'm done here.
I think they would do well to actually say, we're going to do a story. Every season is going to be, somewhere between 8 and 10 episodes. We are going to tell a story, and then that show is going to go away. We're not going to do any more seasons of Supergirl. We're not going to do any more seasons of The Flash. We might do...
I think you're just wishing for something that'll never happen. I don't think you're going to get the British model.
And then you can still do the crossover and have the option for those people to come back and run around with everybody else.
You can't. Like, the way those contracts are written, you can't. You can't just be like, hey, we don't know how long the 4 shows you're connected to will be running. We expect it to be here, give or take 2 years. I need you to stay in perfect shape and not take any movie commitments from 2021 to 2023, because we might need you in Vancouver for a couple months.
Oh,
but you can't.
I would say the scheduling would be set so that they could at least know when they were going to be filming.
Even then.
I mean, it's better than just like...
For Stephen Amell alone, if he had to turn down Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles money for a Casey return because he had to go take the job playing Arrow for all of 12 and a half minutes of screen time in a crossover, that ain't happening. Doesn't matter how important it is.
Oh, maybe not for the crossover. I mean...
Oliver's dying off screen that day, buddy.
If you can come, you can come. If you can't, you can't. I mean, we'll mold the crossover around what you can and can't do based on your schedule. Yeah, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying they should just, like, not work because they're waiting on a crossover to happen. I'm just saying, hey, if they're available and they can book them...
The way a lot of these contracts are set up, though, is you're benched during this period. I mean,
I see.
It's not all of them. But it really is a thing. Is we're going to need you from here to here. If we don't, we don't. But we're going to pay you this amount from here to here and blah, 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 blah.
Right. So, but I'm a big fan of the British way of doing TV. I just am. And I love...
It's a great way.
I love streaming.
And it's very rewarding to stream a British show. And I get it. I completely get it.
And I love the streaming services. I love what they're doing now with, how they're basically making, like, 10-episode movies.
Yeah.
It's just so much more...
Don't get me wrong, though.
So much more...
The British version, I think, falls prey to the same problem eventually. Mm-hmm. Because the British either do something for, like, 2 years, call it a day, walking into the next project, or we're going to do this for 50 years. Mm-hmm. Maybe more. Tell your kids, tell your grandchildren about this show.
Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine, like, I mean... Flash of all of them might do it. But then again, who knows? Maybe Arrow will too. Like, maybe they'll be like Supernatural, which is, I think, pretty sure that started in 1920 as a radio serial.
I feel like that's Superman you're talking about.
What's that?
Nah, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. It's just Smallville lasted, 10 years? Supernatural has lasted 13, 14 years, really? For real?
It is... Hold on, I was looking it up. The question now is cancel or keep going on season 15. They are in season 14.
Wow. Anyway.
Yeah, there are people that are like eager to get their driver's license. Like, it like can taste it. Almost there.
Mm-hmm.
That literally were born when that series premiered.
Yeah.
And it's still doing okay by CW standards. Look, it's averaging 1.47.
How long has it been since Jensen Ackles had a pay cut?
I mean...
Like, that's what I want to know. Like, what does his pay look like? Has he had a raise recently? Has he had a pay cut?
Oh, wait.
So he can
this
keep
is
doing
this
it?
is
What's
news,
happening?
apparently. They did shorten the 14th season.
Oh, there you go.
So I guess they gave him a pay cut that way, but good lord. Yeah.
Maybe they gave him a pay raise, but then cut the episodes.
Yeah. Or they did that by virtue of saying, hey, 2 less weeks in Vancouver, go home.
Wow. Yeah, so anyway, I liked that they basically made John Deegan look like Dr. Destiny for real. That was cool.
Good luck.
Psycho Pirate really disappointed me here.
Again, I'm not going to be disappointed by any character that I see for 7.5 seconds.
Even for the like when he put on the gold mask in the Arkham Breakout, he's running around like talking like Christian Bale, some kind of cross between Christian Bale and Goldar from the Power Rangers. And then, like, to have him at the very end being like, worlds lived, worlds died. Like, I would much rather have, like, he was, like, way more, like, shaky and scared in the comics. Like, I don't understand. Like,
that's the part that disappointed me, was, like, you shot that from their height, framing by, like, panning side to side. No, like, the comics, like, zoom in on this character like he's a minuscule ant that knows the future of the universe. It was weird and powerful to me how the actual comics framed this thing.
Put him in the straitjacket.
It was great.
Put him in the cell.
It was a wonderfully drawn set of pages.
Yeah, put him in the straitjacket in the cell alone.
That's the part that I really did want about it. Was I wanted him to seem insane, and I didn't get that. And I was disappointed by that.
Yeah, I was disappointed.
Don't know if I'm disappointed by the guy doing it yet or not. I have no idea.
Yeah, the guy that did, I mean, he looked like Psycho Pirate. But it was just weird.
There's a lot to bite off with something like Psycho Pirate and a Crisis. And I really hope this actor...
A Crisis, yes. Replicating that shot shouldn't be difficult. Replicating that
shot should be like crumple that dude like a first night in asylum inmate.
Yeah.
Put him in a jacket. Grudge up the area where it looks like there's some mice that are regulars for that corner that he's crowded in, and just shoot it with a crane. But shoot it with a crane. That would be important to me.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I know it just sounds like we're bitching about everything on this crossover.
we just gripe about the things that are important to us.
Well, not even as, I mean, yeah, it's important to us, but it's just like things that are obvious somehow. Like, hey, if Lois is pregnant, don't have her run around with a Jack Kirby looking Mjolnir fighting bad guys.
I liked the Mjolnir. I
thought it was lame.
I enjoyed that.
I thought it was stupid.
I enjoyed that for a second.
I don't know where that came from, what it was at first when like Cisco touched it. I was like, oh shit, is that like the Phantom Zone projector? And then it wasn't the Phantom Zone projector. It was just some kind of lame,
And it was very much not that
Mjolnir thing.
Some lame super hammer.
And then Lois is running around, and I'm like, dude, in your condition, if you're pregnant, stop. Don't run around fighting bad guys. Just,
They didn't make it clear that she knew she was pregnant.
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. They didn't say that.
And I still, like, I laughed at my wife. She found out she was pregnant, I don't know, like 6 weeks in. Feels pretty average for me.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just beside herself for a second, a couple times in, because she was like, a couple weeks ago, like, I went out with my friends, and we had a night of it. Like, we got drunk. Like, is this going to be a problem? No, honey. No, you're okay.
Yeah, but then once we did that, we, like, had fun hitting each other in the stomach with bats. What do you think? You think I'm good?
I think it survived. I'm not sure. Like, can that bat hit the area roughly 4 times the size of a pin? Unless you can disrupt that area, I think you're okay.
Then we got knives. Oh God. We have other problems, dear.
And at that point, you're like, well, if her mama survived a drunken knife fight with her friends, came home giggling, enjoying herself, my baby's going to be okay.
I did enjoy the Mallrats reference that they're going to go to Argo because they don't want the kid to kick through Lois.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there's a Mallrats reference, the great T.S. and Brody conversation in the Mallrats.
Yeah, I mean he put that conversation out there. Mm-hmm. I don't think it had ever been brought up. the
not in the food court.
Competency of uterus versus Kryptonian debate.
What was it? If Lois gets a tan, the kid will kick right through her. Something like that.
I don't remember. It's been a while. And by that I mean probably 11 years.
And then they have an argument about how they're not in the food court. They're at the pretzel stand, which is an independent eatery outside of the designated food court area.
Of course. God love him. Dialogue. Confrontational dialogue. Confrontational dialogue. Confrontational dialogue. Confrontational dialogue. Confrontational dialogue. Confrontational. I'm just mapping out a Kevin Smith movie.
Uh-huh.
Not that I haven't liked him. But I do love him. But when you go back and watch him, you're like, yeah, it really is just a bunch of people talking. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's like a vulgar
that's
Seinfeld.
His own. That's not even a critique I'm making of him. That's literally a critique he gave of himself. And then now that I've gone back and seen some of his properties, I'm like, yeah, that's true.
What was the bit where he used to talk about, like, if he did the $6 Million Man movie, it would just be like Steve Austin hanging out behind a rock, like having a conversation about dick and pussy while ninjas were running around fighting.
Right. Yeah.
Or no, maybe he was talking about Green Hornet, and it was like Kato and Green Hornet just having a conversation.
I don't remember the characters at all. But he turned in like a Superman script, right?
He did, but it was I don't.
That was the one where they kind of asked him like, "So where's the action?" Oh.
Well, specifically, John Peters told him he didn't want Superman to ever wear a suit, and he didn't want.
Oh yeah, there's a whole thing on. Yeah,
and I don't remember if he actually did that. I never read the script.
He has turned in a script though.
He did.
That's the only part I remember. But
anyway, so Elseworlds. What else we got, man? What else we got? Anything like?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I could probably talk about it again if I just watched it.
Mm-hmm.
The commentary track, but and I often walk away from these things thinking that we didn't represent fully how good we feel about something. I
mean, I had fun watching it. The Supergirl segment seemed to be a more of a letdown than anything. But I did enjoy Earth One Alex. I liked her hair a lot more than Earth 38 Danvers.
I did. I even like that storyline.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Where she buys in.
Let me ask you this: you think they're gonna condense the worlds?
I'm really hoping they will. I really am. Like, it's not going to be that much harder on the writers to do so.
I don't think it'll be any harder on the writers. I think it'll be easier.
If here's all you have to do is this. All you have to have is like at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths, we're just going to go ahead and call it apparently.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of that, if you have all of the main players, whoever's alive at this point, because there's a solid possibility that proper Oliver Queen dies in that
proper process. Oliver Queen? You mean the original Vigilante?
Yeah, that guy.
What a jackass.
Wink, wink, buddy.
I do love how Barry was just totally geeking out about Batman. Oh, dude, Batman's real.
Yeah. Oh, that was a funny conversation. See, that's the kind of stuff where, like, I wish we could go back, but at the same time, if we did, it would just be us going back over conversation after conversation, going like, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wasn't it great when Diggle threw up again?
Yeah, it is way easier to tear down than it is to build up.
It is.
And way more interesting, I think.
It is. Well, it can be. I hope we're doing
just kidding.
Like an interesting version of that.
I don't want to tear it down, but
And I also don't feel like we're tearing it down a lot of times. Sometimes I think we're just like wondering what would happen if something like we're
not tearing it down.
Know.
We're just
that's perception.
Just want to know what would happen if something better happened. It's just
if they did it differently, what would it look like?
If they changed the entire way they did the show, what would it be?
Yeah. I do feel like a manager trying to explain his behavior right now. Like, well, it feels like you're just telling me that I'm a piece of shit employee. I'm not. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh my
to you.
gosh.
That's not what I'm saying to you at all. All I'm trying to do is explain to you like what would happen with a different version of yourself and how much more that would be a contribution to our company. That's all.
I did love the bit where like I was really annoyed at first because it's like, oh gosh, like Felicity's all upset because Oliver didn't tell her, and then Caitlin was like, to be fair, Barry told us and we knocked him out and put him in a closet.
Some of this is on us. Just saying. IJS.
As stupid as I thought that was, that they would knock him out and put him in a closet. It was a fun callback. Like, all right,
Yeah.
that might be fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
There was a lot to this. I do hope that a lot of what we say comes off as more like us describing maybe what we hoped for versus what we got in at the least dickish way possible.
Well, look, man, I don't want to be a dick, but I don't care too much either because I feel like they like I said earlier, they call it a thing. It's like someone might be like, for like the 15 Vigilante fans out there. A couple years ago, when they heard Vigilante was going to be on Arrow, they were like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to check that out. Vigilante's going to be on there." And then they tune in. That shit ain't Vigilante. That's a completely different thing than what they hoped it would be.
Yeah.
Like, stop calling shit X, Y, and Z when it's not really X, Y, and Z. Don't do that. Like I didn't watch Arrow until I found out Barry Allen was going to be on Arrow, and I went, "Holy shit, they're doing the Flash." If I had tuned in and it was Barry Allen, but it was really Impulse and not any version of Barry Allen, I would have stopped watching it immediately because I've already seen that shit with Smallville. I don't understand. Like, don't tell me I'm getting the Flash and then give me Bart Allen instead. If you're going to give me Impulse, give me Impulse. If you're going to give me the Flash, give me the Flash. Just whatever you tell me I'm getting, do some version of that. And you can take artistic license with it. Just don't lie to me. That's all it is just like clickbait.
See, for you, I think the line is drawn at like you don't mind, and in fact, you often want another version of a character. Like, do something interesting with it. This character has been around for 75 or less years, 78 or less years now. Good Lord, more than that. God, they've been around for decades. Most of these characters, it's okay and or required to do something different with the character. But for you, when they change the nomenclature, what the hell, man?
Yeah, don't say, like, hey, we're doing Batman, and everybody gets all excited. Shit, yes, we've been waiting on Batman. And then it's like, meet Billy Batson, the Batman.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Or the first episode, they introduced Kirk Langstrom.
That's Man-Bat.
Why?
That's Man-Bat. No.
Why? Why would you call that a Batman series? Your teasers and your trailer houses told me I should expect this. Yeah.
But he's Ridley.
I get that.
He's really the Riddler.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what about Nigma? Well, he's really Ra's al Ghul.
Right.
Yeah. It's a twist. No, it's lazy writing. It's not a twist. It's not a twist, Mark. It's not subverting expectations. It's disappointing a lot of people. That's what it is.
Nice.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
I feel you there. I do. I really do. And I do worry that has flavored some of our commentary today. But
oh well,
it is still a solid thing that they should do. And I feel like this is something I should have said up front. But seriously, I really did love this crossover. And if I went through all of the parts that I loved, it would just be me reciting parts of the thing that I loved.
Yeah, because, I mean, I really enjoyed it. It was just,
laughing about our enjoyment of them.
Like, they did a really good job of showing Barry and Oliver and Kara and their relationship and really growing that friendship.
Chemistry. Fantastic.
Great chemistry between those three.
Yeah. Like, they could just condense all of the hours of television into one Super Friends show, and I would be perfectly happy with it.
I love seeing John Wesley Shipp show
up. I would
up.
probably think that was...
I love John Wesley Shipp showing up.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Just,
yeah.
I mean, he's like showing up in...
Well, a Super Friends show with Cisco's technology.
Yeah, he's like showing up in like the
I would
vibe
be
cloud or whatever.
so
That
happy
was
with
awesome.
that. Yeah.
Not really the vibe cloud. He was trying to break
good.
through and tell them it reminded me of Crisis, but it also reminded it also reminded me of BVS in that scene that everyone pretended they didn't understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they wanted to be, bandwagoners instead of think independently.
I do think that was maybe like a mention of that scene. I think it was a callback a little bit.
Yeah, I
don't think it was completely lost.
And when he showed up, they did the Flash theme from the 90s, and I was just like, and then he was gone just as quickly. I was like, you bastards.
And then it was over.
It's like the Monitor the Monitor is the greatest villain of all time, even if he's not a villain, because he just with a swipe of his hand just made John Wesley Shipp go away.
Yeah. Well, John Wesley Shipp himself said there may be more to the story.
Yeah.
I choose to think so.
I know. I'm just... They honestly could have just done a John Wesley Shipp movie and I would have been fine. Like no, let's catch up here. All right.
That is, again, the beauty of the British model is like, hey, what if we did this series for 2 seasons and then spent like an hour and a half catching up on the whole thing, wrapping it all up? It's actually a beautiful
How much would you have loved if they started it out with John Wesley Shipp going, my name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive? Like, shit, yeah!
Oh, do a voicemail. Do some audio in the background. Like he starts with my name is Barry Allen, and it morphs into Grant Gustin's voice. You can do that. Ain't hard. Do it fade in, fade out. It's fine.
On my earth, shit done got real. Anyway.
Like, that's an easy one. Just have them say it with the same cadence. They don't have to stick to the same key. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You can blend it.
All right. Well, I think that's all I've got. You got anything else, man?
I'm sure, but yeah, I'm good.
I think like the subtitle of this episode is going to be "We Promise We Liked It."
Yeah, Tell you what, take a couple seconds of audio. We promise we liked it more than we just said.
We promise,
and just loop that into the front of this episode. Because it is true. It is true.
We did like it.
We really did enjoy this episode. These episodes. This crossover. Anyway.
All right, guys.
Really did enjoy.
We're DC on Screen. You can find every persnickety, curmudgeonly episode at dconscreen.com.
Right.
We're on Twitter at DC on Screen. I don't know what to tell you guys. Let us know what you thought of our review. If you hate us, if you love us, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Be equally critical.
Yeah. I don't know when we're coming back. Christmas is pulling up, and then I got to go out of town for like a week. So I don't know what's happening. But
yeah, it may be a couple weeks.
It might be a minute. But we'll figure it out and let you know.
And if that's the case, predictably, a 3-hour-long news episode.
Maybe.
Just a guess.
Only if so, only because we do go on a might.
Yeah, we do. No problem.
We're not particularly short-winded.
No. COPD of the opinions is not something we suffered from.
Not yet. All right, guys. Guys, gals. Sorry, I don't mean to be, exclusive there. Folks, focal. I like that, focal. All right, focal.
Focal it is.
Until next time, keep some DC on your screen. Putting aside the question of where Ollie got that kryptonite, I do wonder if Kara was just really pissed at him like she was with Lena for having that kryptonite. Like, how dare you? It could kill me.
Our opening narration was from Dan Jurgens' The History of the DC Universe, Part 3 of 10, as featured in DC 52, Week 4. It was performed by me, David C. Robertson. Intro music by Jason Goss and Michael Shackelford. Michael's band, Future Elevators, could be found on Spotify or future-elevators.com. Our introduction was performed by Effie Ophelders of the fantastic podcast Stealing the Remote, which lives on SoundCloud. It can also be found on iTunes and Stitcher. We are proudly in partnership with TV Time, TV show calendar and social media site that lets you keep track of what you're watching, what your friends are watching, and where you all left off. DC On Screen is a maladjusted production. Visit maladjusted.tv for more from me and Jason, including sketch comedy, an improvised web series, vlogs, parodies, and more.
Are you maladjusted?
We all love the low country lifestyle, which is why we should do our best to protect it. To get insurance that helps you protect your home from whatever the low country throws at you, contact CT Lowndes & Company today. Their local agents can review your coverage to help make sure you're properly protected. CT Lowndes and Company has been helping protect and insuring the Low Country since 1850. Visit ctlowndes.com to learn more and request a quote. That's ctlowndes.com.